I'm very happy to be here today to welcome you all for this conference for IPAs from the African, Caribbean, and Pacific region. So today we will be witnessing the launch of the framework of the ACP countries, which is aimed to be business friendly. The portal is also going to be supporting value chains through inclusive policies, investment promotion, and alliances. And the project is funded by the EU and the OACPS. UNIDO is the main sponsor, and it's in collaboration with WAIPA, the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies. I would also like to take this occasion to invite Ismail, the Executive Director of WAIPA, on the stage. On the podium, we also have Espion, the Assistant Secretary General, OACPS, Cecil, she's the head of Unit E2, European Commission. We have Bernardo, the Director, Division of Fair Production, Sustainability and Standards and Trade from UNIDO. Stefan from UNIDO. He takes care of the Division of Fair Production, Sustainability Standards and Trade. And Brian from the Division of Fair Production, Sustainability Standards and Trade, UNIDO. Ismail, thank you for joining, and I hope we all have a great session today. And congratulations once again on the ACP portal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sujata. It's always been a pleasure, of course, to work with UNIDO. Actually, I should thank you very much for being here with us. We are very excited to organize the 26th conference, WAIPA World Investment Conference, and seeing old friends here and good partners giving us strength, further strength, and it's always a pleasure to work with UNIDO. Dear colleagues, it's my sincere pleasure to welcome you to the Conference for Investment Promotion Agencies from the African, Caribbean, and Pacific region that we organize with the great support of our consultative committee member, UNIDO. As such, I'm honored that the two strong partners of UNIDO, the European Commission and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, is present in today's meeting, and that they also will share their expertise in tomorrow's panels at the 26th World Investment Conference. WAIPA shares a long-standing partnership with UNIDO. Our most recent collaboration was a 2022 survey for ACP IPAs that has been undertaken during this summer. I'm looking forward to some preliminary findings that UNIDO will present, implementation progress from the ongoing ACP Business-Friendly, supporting value chains through inclusive policies, investment promotion, and alliances. But first and foremost, I'm excited about the launch of the cloud-based digital Invest-in-ACP platform, which is earmarked to support investment mobilization efforts in the ACP regions. I thank UNIDO and the colleagues from their trust and support to WAIPA, and I wish you a very fruitful meetings. I would like to invite Madame Cécile Billot, Head of Unit E2, European Commission, DG INTPA. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ismail, and thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here and to hear later more detail from Stefan about the new tools that we have here. Very happy to be here together with OACPS, ACPN, and UNIDO, and to represent this business-friendly program that we have been doing and funding and working together because it's a very important area of work to support investment and to support SMEs and creation of value chains. So this is something very close to our heart, something on which we have really, as we can see later, some good outcome to showcase and some concrete tools, and which we are really in the EU devoted to continue support in this area of value chain. We are also very happy to be here today with the Investment Promotion Agency because, of course, the link with the work that you do in the Investment Promotion Agency is very important. Here we bring a bit of a pieces of a technical support to you, or at least the tools that can be used, and empower you also as key player to get investment also into our partner country. What is also very important, in addition to get, of course, the investment and traction and the investment and really towards small businesses and towards some of the key value chain, is also the investment climate condition. And here, of course, what we hear a lot from our business is, what contact with business that we have, is that this is a very important point also to have the right investment climate condition to be able to invest and to put some money on the table. So that's the two, I mean, having the tools and knowing where investment are there to support, but having it in the right investment climate condition and reforms that is necessary also to improve business environment is really part of how we can, how we see support to investment promotion and to increase the FDI in a third country. We have worked in this partnership with Business-Friendly in many different sectors in many countries. Instance, we worked in Ethiopia and we supported the strategic investor to maintain operations also in the country more recently. But there are many other examples and sectors. But today, what we are here for really is these two important now work streams that the program has been working on. This platform, which is the Invest-in-ACP platform. I looked at it again and tested it online this morning, and I was really amazed because it is really bringing very user-friendly key targeted information about projects and projects that are looking for investment. So it's making a very good link also to the financial community, at least as a resource there that they can use also for their pipeline of funds. And this is very important for us in the EU because we are working increasingly with DFIs, Development Financial Institution, to deploy our support, our cooperation support to a third country, especially in the form of guarantee or blending. And DFI are also key partner in this endeavor, and this is something that is here to stay and will continue under what we call a specific European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus, but we have more and more program and more call for proposal as this kind of type of tool, basically, for promoting investment and for engaging with private actor in our partner country. And this is also very important as we are in the EU really committed also to work and to support investment in the area of infrastructures, digital health, and so on, what we call in a global gateway strategies that we are putting there on the table to really kind of foster our investment also and our funds, EU funds, public funds, basically towards supporting this type of investment. So this platform is really very good, trying to help SMEs and to drive also the investment and support also DFI. And the second thing, of course, Ismail talked about is the results of a survey, and this is always very good to, at least from where I stand, to hear more about what the Investment Promotion Agency are facing on the ground, what are the sort of digital and data-driven knowledge that we can get from the survey and understand us better a little bit what is the main constraints, the main opportunity, and the main challenges that are coming also for you. So very happy to be here and to hear more about these two projects and contribute to the discussion. And I think I will pass the floor now to Escipion, who is right next to me.
Thank you very much, Cecile. It's really a big pleasure for us being here today with so many friends. Cecile, Bernardo, Ismail, that we met in Turkey when I had hair still, Stefan and Brian that really worked for us. For those that do not know what the OACPS is, we are the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. I come from the sea, from the Caribbean, and I represent here His Excellency Mr. George Rebelo Pinto Chicote, our Secretary General. He's from Angola, and he has left to participate in UNGA this week, so he cannot be with us today. We were created in 1975 through the Georgetown Agreement, and nowadays we proudly group 79 member states working together for a better world. However, I suppose a lot of you don't know us, so I often call us the best kept secret in development. So we have had a lot of successes, like today, among others, thanks to the European Union that has been our partner since the beginning, and that we really work together. This platform that we're going to present here today and the business-friendly program that we will present are part of an overall strategy of 600 million euros that is implemented around with 20 plus programs with many partners. Some of these partners are the World Bank, UNIDO and ITC, which is in the business-friendly, but we also work with UNCTAD, with the ILO, with COMESA. In fact, yesterday we launched a COMESA Innovation Forum in Egypt, so it's great that technology allowed us. I participated yesterday from my hotel room, and we work very closely to SADC, to the SEAC, to ECOWAS, to the OMOA, CARIFORUM, CARICOM. So we really work together in trying to help our countries. Our mantra is to promote sustainable economic development, assist our countries to insert themselves in global value chains to participate in the world economy, with the objective of reducing and hopefully eventually eradicating poverty in our countries. So really, we're really much about SDG number 1, and we're really proud to be here today with our friends from, like I said, WAIPA, the European Union, UNIDO as well, but we cannot forget, of course, the other partners of this program, the World Bank and ITC, because what we're trying to have is a coherent approach. Like Brian was telling me in lunch, Stefan was telling me in lunch, the beginnings were hard. Like all beginnings are hard, because we had to get together, we had to discuss. It's not always that easy, the coordination role, but what helps us is that we all have the same objective, is really helping our people, working for the small and medium-sized enterprises to have a better life, to insert themselves in global value chains, also working with big companies. In this, the investment promotion agencies of our country play a leading role. And we're really happy that our countries really have seized this opportunity, that this platform will allow for exchange of best practices and will allow really to conquer markets, hopefully together. We really hope that this platform helps to make a reality the African continental future area, which is really something that we want. It's much easier when you have a global market, and we work closely with the African Union and also with CARIFORUM to try to create that big Caribbean market that we all dream of. Of course, it's easier for me, I'm from Dominican Republic, to get from here to my country, than from my country to Barbados. But well, that will change hopefully in the future, and we will all work towards that. So I would like to say, and I like proverbs. And one of the proverbs I like is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go in company. So the company that you have here is not only the people in this table, it also includes definitely Ismael, but every single one of you. I have the honor of having worked in the Caribbean with CAIPA. CAIPA is a dream. It was a Caribbean Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, trying to convince a Caribbean island that your fiercest competitor was not your neighbor beside. That together we could build that big market in the Caribbean, hopefully in Africa as well. And I would also like to say, maybe say the presence here today with to the person that replaced me next one, Mr. Leonel Laud, that we hope that they continue working together. To Mrs. Paz Velasco that works with us a lot in Brussels, and which I call sometimes Sunday and Saturday at night, which is, they told me that is harassment, but well, I will continue to harass people. But basically, sorry, they gave me a nice speech that I haven't followed whatsoever, because that's always what I do. The only thing I wanted to say that we are there for you. We need you to change the world. So please help us, and really let's walk this trip together, and let's hear this platform that we hope brings investment, wealth, and tomorrow that our people will have a happier life. We're working for more prosperous and hopefully more peaceful societies through investment, through private sector engagement, and through dialogue. I hope you understood my broken English. As you've seen, I'm not English speaking, so I want to say gracias a todos, obrigado, merci, merci, shukran, asante, vinaka, fafetai.
Thank you. And indeed, today we're here and we're celebrating. Yeah, I don't see Ismail anymore. I just wanted to celebrate this excellent collaboration we have with WAIPA. And first of all, to celebrate the fact that we're here all together. It's so nice to see a room full of friends, full of people with whom you share the same objectives. And it is oxygen after so long time of being in the virtual world only. We have learned, and we will talk about the digitalization, but this is a fundamental aspect. And here also we are so special thanks, Ismail, again for this wonderful organization of the conference, but also for the partnership. And I was saying we are today also here very happy to celebrate some of the achievements of the program. And for UNIDO, this program, the ACPS program that we have been discussing for very, very long time, and finally it saw fruition. It's a flagship program for several reasons. First of all, you mentioned it is a partnership with other important organizations such as the ITC and the World Bank, and it has always been, a challenge to start the cooperation. It continues to be a challenge to do many aspects, but it is strategic that we work together, that we deliver together, and it is strategic for UNIDO because we are tackling fundamental issues. And what I like of this program is that at the time we develop these wonderful global tools, we are working on specific aspects in countries. We can cover only 8, 9 countries. Yeah, but what we hope is that we expand over the countries. And this is, for me, the most important element. We're using this at pilot countries, but the spillover should be that other countries, and the platform will show. For me, the success of the platform will be when other countries start using it, when they will start benefiting from it. And ACP, you mentioned it. Why are we here? I like that you mentioned this very clearly. We are here for the SMEs. We are for those who are in risk of being excluded in country-wise, but there is a lot going on in investment. But we are here for those who do not have access to the tools, do not have access to knowledge, do not have access, but with some support, may be in a position to continue in the market. And this is why I consider this a very important program for us. We have been working with the institutions, and I will not go into details in relation to the survey. Also very good collaboration. We will have a panel tomorrow on digitalization in general, but digitalization of the IPAs. I think this is worth to have a full discussion, and we will see how to support them within the program. I don't want to mention. As a matter of fact, we have some testimonials after I speak, so I prefer to hurry up with my intervention. Many things have been said. The platform will be presented. What I would like to mention still is that we have been working very closely with the EU delegations in the country, and that's another important aspect of the partnership. And we are really very importantly looking in this post-Cotonou agreement to contribute that the delegations have an important role to play in this motion that goes beyond aid and is looking at mobilizing investment. And we need to change the thinking from aid technical cooperation. We, UNIDO, are a technical cooperation agencies, but we are trying precisely to merge the thinking with the need to combine with investment. And this is why this program is so strategic. It is also so strategic because we are at a juncture to try to move to social environmental due diligence, and this is changing again the equation. So I think that we will have the opportunity to tighten the relations with the delegations, and we remain, and UNIDO remains committed to be a reliable partner to bring everybody together. And this is a good example of working together. And this is only a milestone. We can do more, and I agree with you, we can do even more. But let's listen to the testimonials. I'm also more keen to hear what our colleagues have to say. Thank you so much. Thank you for the collaboration. Thank you to the EU. Thank you to ACPS, OACPS for this collaboration. It's great to have this program together.
Hola, mi nombre es Viviana Ribeiro y me desempeño como directora ejecutiva del Centro de Exportación e Inversión de la República Dominicana, ProDominicana. Es para nosotros un gran motivo de orgullo participar en esta iniciativa y queremos aprovechar la oportunidad para agradecer a la Unión Europea y a la Organización de los Estados de África, Caribe y Pacífico por el apoyo brindado a través de la Organización de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo Industrial, UNIDO, con quienes estamos trabajando de la mano en ProDominicana en el programa ACP, Clima Favorable de los Negocios.
Bonjour, Kadjo Fofana Diop.
I'm Director of Investment at APEX. I'm Director of Technical Assistance of UNIDO through the tools like COMFAR and DIPS are truly an added value for the work of APEX in the following up of investments in the confidence of enterprises to stimulate the implementation of investment programs, and are also a tool for the centralization as well as an important element for the new investments, for reinvestments, and seeing this as a truly unique opportunity to boost our priority sector.
My name is Samuel Do, the General Manager, Glerian Limited. And Glerian Limited is a company that is focused on manufacturing of detergents and soap. We've been in the business for more than 15 years. And so we expect that this will impact the country as a whole and globally by extension. We have about 34 staffs, of whom in the top management we have 60% whom are women, and other staff, majority of them are youths. We appreciate so much the European Union, UNIDO, and also the OACPS.
The European Union and Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, CAN-INVEST, is indebted for the support you've given us. The impact the project has on our quest to deliver on authorities' mandate cannot be quantified. It will outlive our tenure in the institution.
The ACP program is really changing our working culture in EIC because currently we are working on the investor-oriented manner. All the system is allowing us to have a validated data, which will also allow us to easily communicate with our investors. That is creating a proactive problem solving for EIC, which we didn't have in the previous environment. With the promotion part, we are also narrowing down the information gap. It's making our potential to be visible for the investors. And that is really a big changer for the EIC.
Le programme ACP Business-Friendly soutient le mandat général de l'Agence de promotion des petites et moyennes entreprises suite aux interventions de projets.
And we are now better equipped to be able to accompany the promoters in seeking financing of their investments. Companies are asking for this support to be able to benefit from these financial instruments. It's an alternative to circumvent the constraints of guarantees and maturity of loans in traditional bank loans. Thanks to the program interventions, of attracting investment flows internationally and nationally.
To pay tribute and thanks to the European Union and also the OACPS for supporting the Zambia Development Agency, the digital platform that will be able to assist investors all over the world to be able to engage with the Zambia Development Agency on a continuous basis, to be able to structure deals and close investment transactions. This will go in the increased investments in Zambia than we have never seen before. So we are so thankful to the EU, we are so thankful to the OACPS. The message of the new government is focused on trade and investment. And your coming on board to collaborate with Zambia Development Agency is a huge milestone, and we say thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for the welcoming words to Ms. Cecile, Mr. Espicion, and Mr. Bernardo. And we would also like to give a word and to welcome Mr. Stefan Kratsch, who is the Industrial Development Officer at the Department of Technology, Digitalization, and Innovation at UNIDO. So welcome, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the introduction. Also, I'd like to echo the words of thanks for WAIPA for hosting us today, and of course the firm support that has been provided on this journey that we have walked together for the last 3 years, and the close support we have been receiving from the EU as well as the OACPS. So a lot was mentioned about the launch of the platform. I need to crave your indulgence to be a bit more patient till we launch it, because we feel it's important to give a bit of background about this program, which acted as the grounds, the platform to actually do the digital instruments that we feel will be a significant game changer. So in my presentation, I will be focusing on 4 main aspects. So first, I want to explain a bit the ACP Business-Friendly program, its structure and its objectives. Then, as a second part, to give an overview of the broader progress of the program. And the third part will look at the early findings from the WAIPA UNIDO survey that we concluded with ACP IPAs. Many of you have actually participated in a questionnaire which ended up to be quite long, so already thank you so much for doing this. And the final block will be on conclusions and next steps. So very, very briefly, you have the hard copy brochure with you. You actually have 2 brochures with you. There's one which is on the overall program, which shows the integrated nature of the 3 agencies, World Bank Group, UNIDO, and ITC, working hand in hand on the implementation of this important program. The second brochure then zeroes in on the meso-level component, which is the one that UNIDO is responsible for. So just a few parameters here. So this program started in February 2019. We all know what happened in 2020. So we had a quite long inception phase. Thank you at this occasion also for the patience of the EU and the OACPS in giving us the time under most difficult circumstances to collect the information that we needed to have to roll out effective implementation. The program will end, the meso level of this program will end on 31st December 2025, and some other levels will end in 2024. The program is titled the ACP Business-Friendly, Supporting Value Chains Through Inclusive Policies and Investment Promotion and Alliance. So one of the key objectives really is to work at the 3 tiers of the policy level, the institutional level, and the firm level in providing a significant and holistic support in improving the investment climate. And it's very clear that all these levels need to be vertically integrated to be effective and make a perceived difference for a potential or an existing investors in ACP countries. So in that sense, we're very grateful also for our partners in doing the policy work, that is the World Bank Group, and also the ITC working very much on the value chain level, working with firms, farmers associations, cooperatives, etc. And UNIDO is working at the meso-institutional level, which means under this program mostly with the IPAs, but also IPAs, the institutions, which means SME development agencies. We saw just now a testimonial from APME, which is the SME development agency of Cameroon, as well as some other private sector associations. The coverage of the meso level are 8 countries, and I will zoom in a moment which are these 8 countries. So I will not dwell too much on the architecture or the governance of this program, because you can all do some further reading in the brochures that we have distributed. We encourage you to start following us on Twitter, Invest-in-ACP. So we will post a lot of interesting information coming from the countries, but also the results from the WAIPA UNIDO IPA survey will be shown as interesting research pieces on this Twitter account. So here again, you have the QR codes to go to the joint brochure and the meso level brochure. Just very briefly, the theory of change. I'm not going to elaborate too much on this. I already mentioned that by bringing the 3 levels together, we intend to enhance the investment climate, to generate new investments, and especially channel these investments into value chains, which means we need to know where there are investment gaps in the value chains at the different levels of SMEs, playing a role in those value chains, bringing this out and presenting it in a convincing manner to potential new investors. UNIDO's approach in supporting this is following 2 main streams. The first one is investment promotion agencies should know their client base in the countries. They should know what are the existing investors in those countries. And what we realize, very often IPAs have rather poor databases, rather poor business directories. The data is collected when the investor registers, but then oftentimes we don't see a logic that on a continuous basis, this data is updated. And that makes it difficult in situations like the COVID-19 crisis, when basically every day counts, to reach out to those investors and try to convince them not to pack up and reshore or go back to their home countries. So what we're doing under this program is really helping IPAs to monitor not only who is in the country, but also what do these investment contributes. I think it was mentioned in the opening remarks that increasingly IPAs are looking for impact. And impact can have many facets. It's the job creation, it's the type of jobs that are created by multinationals, is the extent to which multinationals are ready to embed themselves into the industrial tissue of the host country through backward and forward linkages. It's the investment into training, the wages these investors pay, the gender inclusivity, youth, all these type of things. Unless the IPA has a good understanding about what the investors are doing, it will not be able to work with investors and augment the impacts that certain groups could bring to the host economy. The second pillar of UNIDO is really developing investment opportunities. It was mentioned that there are a lot of financial instruments out there, including very crucial ones that were established under the previous external investment plan by the EU. Now the successor program, the European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus, is coming with a lot of, in principle, a lot of capital which wants to invest. The question remains where to invest. And this is where, again, the IPAs have to play a role in providing options, scenarios to these investors. Now, this is the country coverage right now. Bernardo mentioned we would like to broaden, absolutely. Right now, we are only able to do really a deep intervention along the two pillars I just mentioned in 8 economies, 6 of which are in Africa, 1 in the Pacific, and 1 in the Caribbean. So this concerns Ethiopia, Kenya, Senegal, Ghana, Cameroon, Zambia, the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean, and Papua New Guinea in the Pacific region. Another important aspect I'd like to mention is that the scaling up can happen through regional organizations. This could be at the level of a continental organization like the African Union or regional economic communities, but also specific organizations that have a supranational investment promotion mandate, like the Caribbean Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, CAIPA, or the RIAFPI for Francophone IPAs in Western Africa, based in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Now, just some impressions from the capacity building sessions. Everyone wears masks. So you can imagine when this happened, and in some countries, of course, it still continues. So I mean, for no one were the circumstances easy, but of course also we had to be creative and develop workaround solutions to keep the program going. Now, the next block is on the actual progress of the program. And we maintain, of course, a system of KPIs, so it would stretch this session if I went into all the details, but just a few selected meso-level results. So obviously, capacity building to IPAs is the backbone of our work, and we are happy that we did, between the start of the program and today, we did 162 capacity building and also direct bilateral advisory sessions. We want to make sure that we have a high female participation in these sessions to also make sure the creativity and the zest of women is being put to the fore of the program. As I mentioned, under the first pillar, we're doing FDI profiling. So right now we're working in the 8 countries to update the FDI business directory, and we're happy to state that more than 7,000 firms which got registered a long time ago have been updated in a sense that the IPA is able to start working with those investors or segments of those investors. We also have on the platform currently nearly 100 active users. So when we are launching the platform today, this is not entirely correct because the backend of this platform has actually already been deployed for use. And that's why also the testimonials refer to DIPS and the platform that you just saw. Now, a few numbers here. So I mentioned IPAs are reaching out to existing investors. So you see this is being tracked on a monthly basis. So IPAs have been making calls based on lists they have made available to us. And we found that in some cases only 30, 40, 50% of the calls that were made actually had a real investor behind. And this was a very laborious exercise, but we see no other way how else this could be done. And a lot of investors actually, from what we hear from our IPAs, said, this is very refreshing. I haven't heard much from the IPAs since I had registered. So thank you for reaching out again and validating that my company still exists. So as I mentioned, 7,803 in the system. We then help to screen this further. Tamer is in the room. He has been instrumental on this work. And we have right now 2,296 firms, FDI firms, updated with emails, which means there is a basis to run surveys, to have a quick feedback loops from these investors, what they want to do, and so on. The next one is, that was the first one. The second pillar was on developing new investment opportunities, new investment projects. So right now, under the program, and you will see this in a moment on the portal, we have 716 investment opportunity sheets, and they are shown on the portal. And we see some countries have gone ahead very significantly: Ethiopia, Tanzania, Dominican Republic, Zambia, Senegal, and many countries are saying, we really want to continue this work because we feel what us as countries have to offer to investors goes much beyond the 40+ opportunities that we have on the portal. And of course, these opportunities can then be looked at from a sector point of view. So most of them are in the food and beverage sector, followed by chemicals, textiles, leather. So the large majority of these opportunities are in manufacturing sectors, followed by agribusiness, forestry, as well as some services sector. And very importantly, the large majority of these opportunities emanates from an existing domestic firm. So it's domestic enterprises that want to expand their business, that want to diversify, they want to export, and they realize that this growth pathway can only materialize if a technology partner or a joint venture partner comes in. So the second graph shows that, in fact, about 200 to 300 of these opportunities are potential future joint venture projects, where the best is combined towards a good corporate outcome. Obviously, for us, what's extremely crucial is to start to look at these opportunities not only from the financial perspective, but also to start ascribing SDG indicators towards them. And this is shown here in this graph. So every opportunity has a marker of the 3 most relevant SDGs that once this opportunity is realized, it would help to achieve. And this is an interesting yardstick then for IPAs to say, well, I want to promote green investments, so I would be looking at opportunities that are mostly related to affordable clean energy or clean water sanitation, climate action, and so on. We also started to add a women and youth marker to this project because we feel it makes a difference if the project owner is a female entrepreneur or if it's a young entrepreneur, because some investors are looking for exactly that, and under gender lens investing, windows, and so on. So we felt that this is important to show. Now, the last slide here is how this ideally all comes together. So we have, through the business-friendly program, invested a lot in codifying the demand for investments, especially demand for SMEs, in roping in the institutions to drive this process. So that's an important addition, I believe, that we did not send any single external consultant delegation to do the investment opportunity profiling, but every single profile was collected hand in hand with the IPAs, because we feel that it's only if the IPAs takes leadership and custody around these profiles will it be able to then follow up effectively on the queries that it seeks to produce? And finally, of course, now the next stage of the program, and that's why we are very happy when Cécile mentions the new windows of EFSD+, etc., is to link this to the supply of capital, especially responsible FDI, impact investors, investors in the countries, very sometimes overlooked groups, for example, foreign chambers of commerce or European business organizations. So because these investors are already in the countries, so it doesn't take a lot of a persuasion to get them to expand their business. They know the climate, the business climate, they have learned to cope with it, not just seeing the challenges, but seeing the opportunities. So let's work with these existing investor groups. Plus also maybe other groups like diaspora as investors, etc., which I believe is also on things that the OACP has been working on. Now I'm jumping to the third block, which is the early findings from the WAIPA UNIDO survey. The survey was undertaken in July and August, and once again, thank you so much for WAIPA for the support, for sharing the lists of the IPAs. Andreas Hora, who is not here, he was very crucial in helping us with this work. So we have 63 responses from a sampling frame which comprises around 130 IPAs or IPIs in the ACP region. And this also specifically includes national level IPAs, but also subnational level IPAs. And you see this in the middle type of institution. So NIPA is national IPA and SIPA is a subnational IPA. So we have about 25% in the sample are actually those subnational IPAs. And I will show in a moment that their capacity building requirements are even exceeding those of national IPAs. We also, of course, try to make sure to have LDCs in the group to also bring out their specific challenges, etc. Now, a first question we ask, how do you interpret what is your main mandate of what you should be doing as an IPA in the ACP region? And the data here confirms, so to say, the typical mandates of an IPA. Investment climate reform, so many IPAs participate in consultative groupings, in public-private sector dialogues. They report to their line ministry to advocate for streamlined and improved investment climate reform. Also the IPAs, that's the highest score actually, 9.1 out of 10 is doing inward FDI promotion, which is not surprising. But very, very interestingly, the domestic direct investment promotion is not following far behind. And I want to believe that this was perhaps not always the case, at least since I have been working on IPAs. And it's also, I believe, thanks to institutions and platforms like WAIPA that the importance of doing support to the domestic investors is becoming mainstream. And this is shown here through this question. Top targeted countries of IPAs in the ACP. We see many of them are targeting China. It's the most frequently among the top 5 targeted countries by IPAs, followed by other countries in Asia, but of course also European countries and America. So the US, Germany, France, and other economies in Europe are still very important. What we found interesting is that since this is an intra-ACP program, we found that a surprisingly small portion of IPAs seems to have an active targeting effort to attract investors from other African countries or from other Caribbean or from other Pacific countries. So the intra-ACP targeting is not very pronounced in the sample. And that's a pity, because many of the investors, African investors, for instance, investing in another African country, belong to the AFCFTA, as was mentioned, but they also, the business climate or some of the issues may perhaps not be so different to a north-south investment of some sort. So there is still a certain cultural proximity. So how can the IPA translate this into more progressive and more innovative targeting strategies? The next one is IPAs and impact monitoring. So we ask IPAs, what do you want to achieve from an investor? What should an investor bring to your economies? And what it shows is jobs, jobs, jobs. So that by far largest score is employment generation, which seems to even, let's say in terms of importance, outperform the importance of the capital formation aspect of FDI promotion. The next one is also related to jobs, skills development approaches. So the conduit for skills development is through the job creation that a multinational would create in those countries, and the training expenditures and the platforms that are being created for workers to enjoy the knowledge surplus that presumably an investor would bring. Another aspect is local content, which links to what I have shown before. So domestic investment promotion is becoming very important. And the world that ties these two together is through backward linkages. FDI, which brings in local suppliers, local subcontractors, ideally those that also adhere to ESG standards, which is coming on as a strong issue under the EU directive that came out in February, is becoming important. So not just matchmaking as such, but also matchmaking between multinationals and good suppliers that adhere to certain environmental and social standards. Now, these were the social elements. The green elements come kind of hot on the heels of the social goals. That you see this here under the green: circular economy, renewable energy, waste reduction. So these are issues that IPAs expect investors also to bring to their economies. Now, a big section in this questionnaire also asks about the impact on COVID-19. And we felt, since everywhere in the press, it is mentioned that digitalization has been given a big boost under COVID-19, we wanted to know what this actually meant or means for the IPAs themselves. So what we find is there's no doubt that ACP IPAs recognize that the COVID-19 impact had an impact on accelerated digitalization. So a huge majority of 98% said, yes, either to a great extent or somewhat, this has fueled digitalization. And secondly, same IPAs realize that this is not a temporary trend, but that this journey will continue, and perhaps even at an accelerated speed. So you see here that 62% expect that digitalization or the pace of it will expedite even further. Now, we also ask ACP IPAs, so in your functions that you govern as IPAs, what are the areas you would like to digitize first? And that's an important question because budget is not endless, and IPAs need to do some priority setting. So we ask those questions. It's a ranked question from 1 to 10, and we see that the M&E function, the monitoring and evaluation function, about investors, but about the type of impact that investment has brought into the countries, is ranked on top. This is followed by policy advisory functions, digitalization in aftercare, digital registers, and digital facilitation and targeting. We then wanted to go a bit deeper on the technologies. So what are the technologies that should drive this change if an IPA wants to digitize? So we asked a long list of things ranging from chatbots, digital B2B, digital site visits, digital event management, GPS maps, impact ledgers, even metaverse. And what we found was the following, that when it comes to digitalization, the IPAs remain relatively conservative on the pathways. So they're looking at more traditional means, online registration, online data collection, or digital event management. But what was even more surprising, so these are, let's say, relatively basic function. But what we found even more surprising, that 50% of the IPAs did not even use any of these basic digital instruments. So it seems we are surprised to see that 44% of the IPAs have apparently never done an online data collection amongst their investors or organized an online or maintain an online registry, let alone an online tracking. So we think that this can offer very interesting insights for future support. So how prepared are IPAs then vis-à-vis digitalization? A bit of worrying, concerning news is that not so much yet. We find that 4 in 5 IPAs are still discussing strategies. They're in preparatory stages, but they're not in implementation, which means it's only in 21% that an active work plan on digitalization is being pursued. Another issue that emerges is that digitalization also comes with data management issues, cybersecurity, etc. And the certificate which tries the security management certification is typically ISO 21001. And we ask IPAs, do you have this? And the large majority said either no or we don't even know what this is. Yet cybersecurity and the threats that it brings is an extremely important issue to look at, especially if the IPA maintains potentially confidential investor profiles. So I'm reaching the end of my presentation. So we wanted to then know, what does this mean then for current and future technical cooperation needs? And what we find is the IPAs have a long list of technical cooperation needs. The need becomes even more dire if the IPA is a subnational IPA. We also find that young IPAs need more assistance than older ones, which is not so surprising. And we also had a strong plea from Pacific IPAs to receive further support, significantly above the average. So the highly scored support that IPAs want clusters around 4 themes: investment promotion and targeting, investment project preparation and appraisal, investment opportunity profile and monitoring. If you are interested in more results, we encourage you to visit the Invest-in-ACP platform under data analytics. We show a broader, a longer presentation. Please also, if you have time, there is a UNIDO WIC talk tomorrow at 4 o'clock in plenary C. Tamer is going to give a talk for about 10 minutes. Please also watch out for more research pieces to feature soon on our Twitter. And watch out for a formal WAIPA UNIDO report that we are looking at launching in this, not the second quarter, the first quarter of 23. Last slide. So what are the conclusions? Linking it back to the business-friendly program. So the baseline study that we did in the inception report of this program is confirmed by the results that we just collected in this survey. IPAs want investment opportunity profiling support, promotion and targeting support, monitoring support, and project preparation and appraisal support. IPAs are also very much aware of the need to digitize, but they are pragmatic enough to say that, well, we want technology work for us, but we don't work for the technology. So it's a very, let's say, pragmatic approach, which we believe makes a lot of sense. So the Invest-in-ACP platform then provides an immediate centralized support on certain functions that an IPA may not have to deal with, especially in relation to opportunity development. Needless to say, there is need for further bespoke TC support for IPAs to manage local digital systems like maps, virtual site visits, etc., which cannot be covered fully by this program. So we want to continue implementation. We want to reach out to you, potentially scale up further on the investment opportunities, do further investor outreach and negotiations, and also at this stage look at bringing a more significant intervention on aftercare and linkage support. So we hope to be able to continue this exciting journey together, and thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And we have also with us Brian Portelli, who is the Chief Technical Advisor at the Department of Technology, Digitalization and Innovation at UNIDO. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great opportunity for us to explain and provide an overview of the main item that was mentioned in the intro in terms of the launch of the Invest-in-ACP portal. As my colleague Stefan has mentioned, it's been quite an important journey. It's a journey that has involved and is involving many people in the countries, many colleagues who are also following us, many colleagues working for UNIDO directly and indirectly, huge teams within the beneficiary, investment promotion agencies, IPAs, public and private sector officials. So it has been quite an engaging and important, fulfilling partnership building process, which we, of course, are aiming to push it to yield to more results in terms of what each and every beneficiary and user of these tools is expecting from us. So my intervention for the next 10 minutes is basically to give you a very quick overview. I won't repeat much of what has been extensively mentioned already. The point of why are we pushing for these digital tools? It was important for us, of course, to understand what are the needs in terms of the investment promotion agencies from the institutions, in terms of the investment promotion framework at the country level. And we understood that there was an important need to increase visibility for many IPAs, visibility in terms of what the countries have to offer in terms of investment opportunities. A lot of support, mainly from a capacity building support and advisory support to strengthen the investment packaging aspect. So what is being proposed to potential investors, how it is packaged, how it is documented, how it is presented, how it is pitched also to the prospective investors. But importantly also to have tools and approaches that not only serve to embellish portals and documents with nice investment opportunities, but to ensure a follow-up after important events that leads to links between prospective investors, exchanges, and of course, lead generation leading to important outcomes from this engagement. So our main, let's say, vision statement of these investment promotion tools is basically to reach out to potential investors, helping our main beneficiaries in reaching out to potential investors, as was mentioned, a very important component of the program is on the investment retention, because the existing investors are those who are investing mostly, who are creating or maintaining jobs. So how at best to consolidate this investment, this productive activity, so how to provide value-added services to the existing investors. And thirdly, but of course very importantly, especially for those smaller economies, to help position ACP countries on the global investment map. Just a very quick run through what we consider our main beneficiaries, users, as well as institutional partners in this journey that we have started 2 years ago. Obviously, from the very, very beginning, I mean, we are talking about main beneficiaries of our technical support in the form of the investment promotion agencies, other institutions that are directly and indirectly working in investment promotion, so representative bodies of private sectors, sectors in sectors and value chains in the targeted countries. So we're talking about representative bodies representing SMEs and even micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. Here, the interactions with our colleagues from ITC and the World Bank is very important for this beneficiary alliance extension. Of course, other ministries, development agencies in the countries, as well as other developing partners. So ideally, we see our main users of our main tools and methodologies, the many, many users that were referred to in the previous interventions. The idea of improving the way of doing investment promotion work from the basic day-to-day work to yield important outcomes. The target users, of course, of the portal, you must have already scanned your QR code, started to see a glimpse of the Invest-in-ACP portal. The target users here is, of course, those potential investors. There is a very, very long list of who are the investors. There are investors from the corporate, from the private equity, from impact investors, those working in the field of the SDGs, the development financial institutions, private sector providers. Some of you, of course, are also here today to listen to what, let's say, the public sector is equipping itself with in terms of information build-up. So these are the target users which we have as our objective. So these are the users who would consume and use this information that we have been put together. Thirdly, but of course very importantly, is the institutional partnership that we want to continue to build up, as we've been doing at the country level, but also at the regional level, with regional bodies that are representing investment promotion agencies, but also important economic blocks. So this is an ongoing process of utilizing the various tools that we are developing. I will move on to show you some of the salient parts and features of the portal. So obviously, you can do this at your leisure with more detail, but essentially, I want to highlight some of the more important parts that are, from our point of view, very, very important to mention. So essentially, this Invest-in-ACP portal exists to provide project opportunity information as well as investor-related information. So we are making an emphasis on project opportunities. I will explain a little bit more what we mean by this and how this process, this work is undertaken. We, of course, provide information on the investment promotion agencies and other entities like industrial parks, industrial zones, providing services to existing but also to prospective new investors. There is also a part where we are focusing on the information that we are slowly gathering and building up capacity in the value chains with the value chain operators. Here, of course, the nexus between trade and investment is an important aspect that we are also covering, and some elements regarding the analysis of the work we're currently undertaking. So from the project side, and please allow me to use steps so that we facilitate the flow of the discussion, but I can assure you that everything works, so you can check yourself when you go back home after the gala dinner today. The idea here is to highlight projects which we refer to as investment opportunities that are captured, identified, formulated at the country level. So currently we have around 724 projects, real projects, from around 21 countries, because yes, it was mentioned that we are working specifically in 8 intervention countries, but through our regional approach, we're also trying to capture as many as possible countries with the Caribbean, but now we're also starting work with at the COMESA RIA level. So the idea here is to scale up our intervention in this perspective. So essentially, we have these 724 projects, which of course represent an important overview of different type of projects emanating from organizations, from SMEs. So we're talking about different type of sectors, different type of value chains, also different type of investment typology. So projects which are looking for joint ventures, projects which are greenfield in nature, projects which are seeking minority or majority FDI shareholding. The alignment with SDG was mentioned very importantly earlier on. So we are trying to match the aspirations and objectives of these projects within the context of SDG, because this is also a very important identifier from to present to prospective investors. It was also mentioned the AFSD+, so we're also aligning ourselves to the thematic windows of the AFSD+. So we're talking about various important thematic windows that are now being given more and more importance by IPAs, and of course total investment cost and investment initiatives, especially initiatives which are supporting women in business, supporting youth entrepreneurs. So the idea of this project is basically to showcase on the portal what we call an investor opportunity summary sheet, which consists of main elements of importance, of primary importance as an investment teaser to a prospective investor, which of course has to be backed up with an excessive information that I will speak about in a minute. What is important on the portal is that for any prospective investor or any user, he or she can actually get in touch with the contact person that is representing the organization that has worked on this profile. So we'll come to this point where initial contact, initial query about a particular project opportunity can be taken from this particular avenue. What is important is also to mention that we have a very elaborate part in the portal which looks at the countries. So here we're making an effort to represent the entire 79 countries of the ACP region. So, and then within the countries, we are, of course, speaking about which projects pertain to that country, which institutions, which IPAs pertain to that country, which industrial parks, so, and also related publications. So from that perspective, it's very important then to provide, let's say, a landing page where information or basic contact information can be had about a particular country, who is undertaking the investment promotion work, and so on and so forth. I mentioned also value chains. It's very important that we mention about value chains, because this is also very important interlink between the meso and the micro. So here we are building up the capacity of campaigns, investment profiling campaigns in the selected countries where we are unearthing investment needs from the various value chains, coffee, fashion, and coconut, etc. It's very important to, of course, analytics, etc. So all the information that was presented in the earlier session is also presented here. So this is the part where it will be kept updated over time, also to explain and keep pace with the implementation progress of the ACP Business-Friendly program. What is important is to keep in mind that, of course, you well appreciate that positioning 724 projects from 21 countries is a lot of work, and this lot of work is basically being pumped and being facilitated by a back-end solution that we have also developed, which is basically part of the investment profiling methodology that we are implementing in the various countries. And this system is basically We refer to it as DIPS, Digital Investment Profiling System, which is essentially the back-end solution that IPAs are currently using. Some of you, I can see in the audience, teams have been trained to provide services to existing investors, but also identifying project opportunities via the system. So this is a system which also facilitates a certain level of workflow, which is very important because, as you can see from this slide, we are basically talking about a process of a verified process. So we're not just receiving and uploading information without any form of checks. And of course, there is a process of collecting data from the project promoters, formulating what we refer to as investment opportunity profile, which is a 15-page document, which is the backbone of the investment teaser that you see on the portal. And through this process, there is a hierarchy of IOP verifying process whereby data is meticulously checked between Vienna and also the various countries. What happens after this? So once the project is posted on the portal, so the projects that you've seen in my first frame is basically, it will lead to a next step of marketing those opportunities via the portal. So that's what we are supporting IPAs in marketing what they have to offer, but also trying to capture initial queries and initial requests for more information via the main portal, but also captured in the digital investment profiling system. So in this sense, these all queries from investors are captured in this internal management information system that each of IPA has at its disposal. And of course, this is a very important point of understanding which projects are receiving most likes, which projects are receiving more queries, who is requested to respond to queries, how long it's taking to respond to queries, etc., etc. So this is also a very important part of setting and establishing KPIs also within the organizations. Very quickly on the investment opportunity profile. So I stumbled on this morning. We were discussing over breakfast. It's important to look at. We have big projects, we have hydro projects, we have baby food projects, we have coffee projects, we have pretty much all the sectors. So it's very important here to highlight the extent of details that we are collecting at the basis of these investment opportunities. So, and why? Because we are very much true to our word when we say investment packaging is important, because it's just more than just having a project idea. It's very important to develop and transform those project ideas into something more meaningful that forms the basis of a tangible, a robust discussion with a prospective investor. So this is basically what comes out of this process, whereby a profile has a part which speaks about who is behind the project, but also another part which speaks about what are the objectives of the project and what is expected to be achieved at that. I just conclude with my last couple of slides on what are our envisaged next steps, and in a way, the issue of scaling up, the issue of sustaining was already mentioned. It's very important that all this good work that has been undertaken over the past 18 months in the various IPAs is sustained. So these are investment profiling campaigns that will continue because there will be more attention to more and more partners at the national level that want to be part of this process. And of course, what is also important that we move more towards more thematic focus of these investment profiling campaigns. So the FSD thematic windows is one case in point. We want to be able to work more in the realms of women in business, in the realms of youth entrepreneurship, in the realms of green projects. And this is basically the main topics of discussions at the regional and also at country levels, also with the European Union delegations and with the European Union. Last but definitely not least is the proactive investment promotion, because We want to make sure that we are not satisfied by launching a portal today and having 700, 800, 900, 1,000 projects over time with no action happening. So we want to have a healthy turnover of projects that have a lifetime, their shelf lifetime of 3 months, because they are basically captured interest of potential investors. So that's why we need a very important, healthy turnover of these projects. So just to conclude, from a sustain and scale up approach, it's very important to continue working with the IPAs. Some IPAs, some of you actually are in this hall today, are basically are telling us that they have never profiled so many projects as they have done in the last 12 months. Why? Because there's a system, there's a process, and they are bringing more and more attention and more support from other institutions, public and private sector institutions, that before they did not have. So I think for us, this is very encouraging, and this is why these tools can then start also providing a very important return on investment. I mentioned the KPIs. It's very important that we are also changing the baselines within IPAs, also by establishing KPIs of how do we measure what we're doing effectively, how many projects are we collecting, but what is the outcome of this? So how much foreign investment are we generating? How many contacts are we having every single month? So these tools provide a modest but very forceful and very marked contribution to also setting these KPIs to understand how and in which direction these IPAs are moving in terms of delivering their specific mandate. We're also giving direct support to SMEs in the sense that it's not only about identifying the project opportunities emanating from the SME sectors, but also understanding how to bring SMEs, or what needs to be done to bring SMEs to become investment ready. There's been a lot of work in various countries where we're doing specific SME campaigns to also convince some SMEs even to part away from their business ideas or the project concept. Why? Because they don't trust. But UNIDO is also delivering a very important broker facilitator role here, because we are transparent. We're also basically working to sustain the interests and the objectives of both sides, those who have the projects to pitch and those who are looking for projects. Investment pitch, we mentioned, of course, the issue of packaging is very important, but it's very important to also mention the investment promotion collaboration that is happening also at the national level. We are in close discussion with the European Union and the European delegations on what are the main themes of projects that are being championed and pushed, in green projects in premise, but also the aspects of women entrepreneurship and also youth, digitalization. So these are all very important themes that some of the IPAs are now facing for the first time on their to-do list. So how do we effectively mobilize investment in these areas? Very, very quickly on the thematic, yes, the FSD was mentioned, so this is an aspect where we need to work more closely also with the EUDs and especially the European Union related DFI. So here there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done also to understand what type of crowding in is required to enable more investors to be able to invest in these sectors. And SDG with a focus on responsible investment, with a focus on looking at new forms of investment that some of the IPAs might have overlooked in terms of the opportunities out there. Last, but definitely, proactive investment promotion here. So the idea is to have joint and complementary actions. We're working also with a number of representative bodies, bringing closer IPAs and, let's say, the diplomatic network in different countries, who can actually use these tools, who can use the portal to increase the robustness of their investment pitch when foreign embassies are doing investment promotion events. So this is an aspect which we are looking into, exploring into a number of selected countries for the next 6 months. And very importantly, as Stefan mentioned, looking into the opportunities that existing representative bodies of representing EU investors can play in terms of crowding in more investment from the European Union in these countries. So Yes, maybe some countries are more prevalent in terms of investing heavily in ACP countries. This should not always be the case. So there are opportunities, and maybe European Union member states could also be facilitated in this process. It is obviously clear that we cannot do it alone, so we want to collaborate also with private sector providers in terms of helping site selection work through basic use of the basic information that we have on the portal. That is coming always fresh from the oven from the IPAs and from your work. So private sector service providers looking for site selection, looking for lead generation services. So the idea here is to complement, not reinvent the wheel, but complement and strengthen the work that's being done by many, many parties as reflected in this very important conference these days. So thank you very much, and we are available for more questions and clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you everyone for participating, and thank you, UNIDO, for the great collaboration as well. We look forward to the published survey report, and we wish you all the best, of course, for the platform and encourage IPAs to access it. We will have a break now. Sorry? Sure. In case of any questions before we go for the break. Okay, if no questions,
no, I have a
is
question,
there one?
please.
Yeah,
hello, good afternoon, everyone. My question will just go to the last speaker. Sorry, I just want to complement what you just said about the private sector-driven initiatives coming together with your own agenda. I think it's really important also to integrate it properly, like the way you have put in your submissions. Let it be introduced to those IPAs, particularly to look at it as a subject to bring it to the table, because most of those countries, particularly from the areas where I'm coming from, sorry, my name is Mustafa Uthman, I'm from Nigeria, and I represent the private sector, some of those companies in those areas. So I feel it's important to have this kind of robust arrangement, particularly UNIDO and the rest of them, to integrate the private sector, to have those kind of ideas that you have, and then for the IPAs to also suggest more things to carry us along, because most of the issues we're facing is you have a visibility, you have everything that you want to do, but then the IPAs don't even know you. So there's no data actually, basically, in some of those areas. So that's why I said it's very important to actually integrate this arrangement that you just brought. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bibi Olufore. I'm from ITPO, UNIDO, Nigeria. And first and foremost, I might make an attempt to address Mustafa's observation and then also ask a question. So on Mustafa's observation, we're actually working together with IPAs to ensure that they're all carried along. We're looking at the type of data when it comes to actual granularities when it comes to socioeconomic situations around the investment opportunities, apart from just the investment opportunities in themselves, to ensure that they are all carried along, to ensure that this is a portal that is as good as physical contact when it comes to profiling and assessing, the viabilities of investment opportunities. And that brings me, I hope this clarifies, and we can always step aside to talk about this more. So UNIDO is in Nigeria, UNIDO is in most African countries, and this is what we're trying to do to ensure there's an integrated effort to pull this all together on the portal. Now, my question is, per the portal, when it comes to qualifying the data that is uploaded to it, and when I see on the meso level, you're looking at, policies around investments, and this is going to be peculiar per state, what kind of considerations do you have for states or countries to actually give an approval or a stamp of approval to the data that is uploaded, especially when it has to do, most of them with those indigenous or peculiar policies for the countries.
Thank you for the question. Regarding the approval, perhaps I would refer back to how the workflow is conceived. So we actually want the IPAs to collect or define the investment opportunities it wants to collect based on certain criteria. This could be value chain priorities, as those that we may find mentioned in an industrial policy, for example, or also regional strategies to develop regional value chains. So that should inform the start of the investment opportunity profiling. It should not just be any investment opportunity. So we also need to be careful in not having an abundance of investment opportunities on the portal. So we feel it's not the number that matters, but also the robustness of what's being shown. And then, of course, if we have the government then providing support to these investors who take a step towards investing into an SME or an indigenous firm, which is a risky undertaking because joint ventures can be quite risky because both partners have to find a common objective. There are different cultural discrepancies, there are technology discrepancies, there are language discrepancies sometimes, etc. So if that is a process that host country government support, perhaps through incentives or even some tax holidays, etc., that to us would seem like an innovative, a progressive way of doing investment facilitation for certain investor groups that have the likelihood of making a larger impact on the ground than others. So definitely this is an effort that we want IPAs to spearhead, and I want to refer back to the original design of the program. That's why we have 3 tiers. We're not working too much at the policy level, but the World Bank does under the Business-Friendly program. So if we encounter a situation like that, we would activate that tier led by the World Bank to provide support in a programmatic, holistic fashion. Thank you.
I have one quick question. My name is Leo Naut with Caribbean Export Development Agency. And mostly on the investment promotion portal with the projects, my understanding is that you could have the most perfect website in the world, but it will be dependent on the audience that is exposed to this website. What efforts are being put in place to ensure that investors look at this as a resource? Because we need to have the captive audience for it to motivate the IPAs to want to keep putting, use it as a way to profile projects. So just wanted to know in terms of the private sector engagements that you're doing to promote the website, like if that is conceived in the plan, or are you partnering with anybody to bring this to the general audience of FDI?
Yes, thank you. It's probably a $6 million question of everybody's mind. I think what is important to mention, and you're perfectly right, I mean, all this work will not be as successful if we don't focus on the target user, so the audience who is expected to benefit out of this. So, but we also see it that in order to have a captive audience, you need also important content. And that's basically where we start off with, to understand what is required and what could be that extra element. It could be some additional information, some additional analysis, some additional metric to be attached to an investment opportunity that could be, let's say, more beneficial to the page. Needless to say, yes, a lot of work is being done behind the scenes to rope in public, private sector also to create the right audience. However, what we always say is that, and some of the IPAs are also here, know very well what this message is, we cannot do it alone. So there has to be a co-process of let us help you do the investment targeting. Let us help you also complement as much as possible your investment promotion work. So, and this is something that is very important, even at the level of IPA alone cannot, it has to work within an ecosystem with a national level that of course needs to support this less than fragmented approach of mobilizing investment. So working on both fronts simultaneously, and of course there's a lot of partnership building at the level of countries and also regions.
Hi, my name is Sarah Lisa Arstevic. I'm with UNDP in New York. Just a quick question. I was wondering, how do you go about managing the negative impacts so that positive impacts are maximized and negative impacts are reduced or minimized? Any investment will have positive and negative impacts. So I'm just wondering how you work on that, how you analyze that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is a very good question. Positive impacts usually come also with negative impacts, and that we find in the SDGs themselves sometimes, that there's sometimes an inherent conflict perhaps in meeting one SDG could go to the detriment of another one. What we want to describe is rather the process to start measuring the impact, and we even find ourselves at the early beginnings of this process. So what we want an IPA to do is to have a regular CRM system to understand what at different points in time, what impact investors are making to the economy. And that sometimes it may not suffice to just let the investor speak about its own impact, but there are also other means of assessing whether impact is being made. For example, standards, sustainable standards can help in measuring an impact. And that is a very important tool in international trade, because consumers want to see by the product they buy or by a service they achieve, they want to know that it was not deleterious to the environment, or it is not based on workers' exploitations, etc. So I would say is an interesting nexus, which I find is not explored enough, where IPAs perhaps should also be working with SME certifying organs more closely in seeing what is happening and to what extent SMEs are able to meet certain international standards, including sustainability standards. Thank you.
Last one.
Take the last question, if that's fine. We are still around, so please. Yes, yes. Please be brief. Yes, thank you. Please.
I'm Joseph Gibson from Malawi. I have a technical question of sorts about the portal. I noticed that it has a list of a different number of things, except there's no links to the promoters themselves. Is that by design, or is that something that's still being worked on? The investment promotion agencies don't have a link on this portal. Is that by design, or is that something that's still being worked on? They have documents on there, but no actual link to their websites or their actual portals. So I was just wondering if that's an advertising issue, or if it was a decision that was made out of strategic purposes.
Actually, due to time constraints, we were not. Thank you for the question. Due to time constraints, we were not able to show two additional features on the portal. They are related to showing investment promotion institutions and agencies in the ACP region, their contact details, their websites, their Twitter accounts, etc., as well as special economic zones and industrial parks. So if you go to the country landing page, what the landing page will offer are four things: project profiles, the IPA contact, the SEZ or industrial park contact, if there is one in the country, and then fourthly, the link to the main investment promotion publication. So we can walk you through the platform. So we want to empower the IPAs. We want to also empower, let's say, business diplomacy, perhaps through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is an extension to the IPA in many of the host countries where embassies are located. We want also to bring in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to have a reference point if they engage with potential investor in their country, to bring them closer to the originating IPA, as well as special economic zones, authorities, or site administrators. Thank you.
And who should we contact if you want to update or to add some information about our country in this platform?
Yes, please contact us. Yes, if you mean if you want to.
The exact contact.
The contact is shown
Yes.
on the main page,
Okay.
investmentportal@unido.org. So you can send us an email, or you can contact us directly, and we will attend to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. We thank for the patience, for the big interest. We see that we have to continue with this discussion. There is another session going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Before everyone leaves the room, may we kindly ask you for a group photo, which we will do here in front of the stage. And if anyone wants to leave the business cards, we can also collect this at the entrance door. Thank you very much.